Good morning, everybody. It is April 28th, and today I wanted to talk about acclimating fig cuttings to direct sunlight. And while we're going to focus on fig cuttings here specifically, these principles can be applied to any kind of plant that you start growing indoors under grow lights and you need to bring out to acclimate into direct sunlight. Typically, any plant that you grow underneath a grow light, you do not get the full spectrum of light like you would from a star, like our sun. And if you were to bring them directly outside, the leaves would burn and the plants would take damage. So in front of me, I have 4 fig cuttings that I want to use as an example. This is a Col de Dame de Queutat that I just won off of FigBid. It is a very rare variety that there's not a whole lot of information from. I believe it comes from Spain, possibly from the island of Majorca. That's what I've heard anyway. Don't know too much about this variety, but it sounded like a good variety to collect, and I won it for a good price. This right here is a Bourgeois Blanca Negra. Again, it's a fig that there's not all that much information on. It's a fairly rare variety, and I actually traded an Italian 258 that I had as a spare for this straight up with someone on a forum. And right over here, I have 2 MBVS, they're Marseille Black MBVS cuttings. And those are finally starting to develop strong roots, and I want to start acclimating them to full sunshine. This Col de Dame de Queutat over here, I don't know too much about it. It could be fully acclimated to sun, I'm not sure. This Bourgeois Blanca Negra I know is not acclimated to the sun because the person I traded with told me he only had this under grow lights, so I have to be very careful acclimating that to sunshine. And these 2 cuttings, the root structure is pretty weak, and if I bring it out into direct sunlight for too long, they wilt. So here in southeastern coastal North Carolina, the late April sun is very strong. We're getting UV indexes in the 9s right now, so it's tough to start acclimating plants at this time of year. Normally you'd like to acclimate your plants to winter sun, where you slowly bring them out in the weaker sunlight, but we don't have that luxury right now. The reason why I have my plants outside is because I actually have some significant cloud cover in the sky right now. It has been absurdly sunny right now. For the past 8 days it's been absurdly sunny, and this is the most clouds that I've seen. So now the late morning sun is starting to burn off the clouds, but I brought these out in the morning to try to get some sunshine filtered through the clouds. Funny thing, since I started filming this video, the sky went from almost total overcast to almost totally clear. That's how fast the weather changes here, and the sun gets pretty intense. So acclimating any kind of fruits or vegetables, any kind of plants at this time of year can be a real challenge. With fig cuttings, ideally what you want to do is you want to start your cuttings in November, early December, and then the cuttings take root and start to leaf out sometime in January. And ideally, on January days when the weather is in the upper 40s or low 50s, you can bring them outside to the very weak January sun. The UV rays are pretty weak at that point, so they don't do a lot of damage to the leaves. And if you slowly bring your plants out in January and February, they'll suffer very little shock and very little damage from the sun. However, at this time of year, it is a lot more difficult because the sun gets so much stronger. So the best way to acclimate any kind of plants is to bring them out in overcast skies. If the sky is overcast, they still get filtered light from the sun, but the UV rays are very, very weak. I did have nice overcast skies a little while ago, but now I have mostly clear skies. So now you can see I move my plants into the shade where they're only going to get indirect sunshine. If you live in a place that does not get a lot of overcast days, you're best bringing your plants out to acclimate immediately upon sunrise. The reason why is because the morning sun is the weakest sun. the UV rays are not strong as the sun is rising. And if you can't get up that early, you're best off putting your plants out at night on a place that gets part of your property that gets east facing exposure, since the sun rises in the east. That way they get the first light of the morning, and then you kind of have to feel it out once it starts getting to be 9, 10 a.m. You may want to move them out into shade so the stronger rays of the sun in late morning and early afternoon do not burn your foliage. You can leave them in a shady place or bring them back indoors, and then you can bring them out again once the sun is setting. At this time of year, that's usually around 6 p.m. or so, where it can still get some sunshine, but the rays of the UV rays decrease in intensity as the sun sets in the sky. So you'll see right here, this wall gets mostly total southern exposure. You can see the light line, which is right over here. You could see the sunshine line. That will slowly get tinier and tinier as the day moves in. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on these plants and make sure they don't get direct sun exposure yet, because they're still fragile. I just received them. Another good tip is to take one of these spray bottles. I just bought a spray bottle at AutoZone for $2 or $3. You take these and you mist your cuttings. You want to keep the leaves wet so the sunshine does not dry them out and the wind does not desiccate them, because they are not fully hardy to the outdoor conditions yet. So you may want to come out every hour or so and do that to keep the leaves moist. That will prevent damage from the sun and the wind as they acclimate. Typically, it will take something like a week to 10 days to fully acclimate your plants. And that's any kind of vegetation, whether it's tomatoes, peppers, figs, it doesn't matter. You want to start out in shade or in overcast skies, and then you want to move to weaker morning light and weaker late afternoon light as the sun is setting, and then you want to slowly bring them out, give them a little bit more sun exposure every single day for about 1 to 2 weeks until they get fully hardened. And the initial leaves may always take some kind of damage. They may always get some browning around the edges. They may never fully acclimate, but that's okay, because if your trees are in an active growing phase, they will continue to put out new leaves and new vegetation, and those leaves, like you see right here, those leaves will be fully hardened to the sun. Everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found the content helpful. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. I would really appreciate if you follow me along on my journey, and I hope to see you again next time.